What's going on, guys? This is Mr. DeLorean here on today's brand new video, and welcome to my review for The Walking Dead World Beyond Season 2, Episode 1. Now, after a pretty slow Season 1, or what many thought was a pretty slow Season 1, even though I personally enjoyed it, many saw Season 1 as a pretty slow start with pretty boring episodes that didn't really cater to a bigger story. And all around, people thought the characters were boring, everything was just slow going. But people like me did actually enjoy Season 1, mainly because I saw it as more of a shut your brain off and kind of just sit back and relax type show. At least that was how I saw Season 1 or anything. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it or anything. I just kind of enjoyed it, I guess. But after Season 1, we have all our characters now split up and everything and completely taken by separate groups, or they've gone their separate ways. Felix and Iris were found by Will and his new group and everything of people that are apparently against the CRM and everything, but kind of also have connections to them. Hope was taken by the CRM, Huck, and Elizabeth. Silas sacrificed himself for Percy and Ellen and was taken by the CRM also. And now our characters are completely split up and everything, taken into different communities and everything. And we kind of now have these subgroups of characters and everything after Season 1, which was kind of an interesting concept and everything to split our characters up for Season 2. So now they all have to kind of find their way back to each other. At least in my opinion, that's a cool concept. But now we arrive at The Walking Dead World Beyond Season 2, Episode 1. So let's hop right into the review. So there are going to be 4 chapters of this review: cinematography, acting, editing, and best moments. Or pretty much I just talk about my favorite moments of the episode or some pretty shaky moments and everything. So I guess you could say it's kind of just the moments that stood out to me in the episode and everything. Some good, some bad, but let's just hop right into the review. So cinematography, there was only probably one shot in this episode, or maybe a few, that really stood out to me and everything as good cinematography, or just looked visually capturing to me. And that was the shot of Elizabeth, Huck, and the CRM and Hope and all of them on top of the roof and everything. That shot of this city, which I thought was really nice in my opinion, and something that really caught my attention as wow, that actually looks really nice and everything. Obviously it was all CGI and everything, the city, but I did think it was looked really nice on the screen. And that was all I really had for cinematography. I guess there was a nice shot of a helicopter flying into the CRM that really did catch my attention, I guess. And I guarantee there were some other shots that I liked in the episode that I can't exactly remember, but that was cinematography, I guess. Moving on to acting, I guess you could say all the performances were pretty standard. That doesn't mean they were bad at all or anything. It's just there wasn't any groundbreaking performance that really caught my attention. I thought Elizabeth, the actress who plays Elizabeth, Huck, and Hope and everything were pretty good. I know a lot of people don't think the performances in this show are good, but for me, as long as an actor or an actress can convince me that they are really in the moment, then I think it's it gets me into it and everything. I think it's good acting. So we might not all share the same opinion on good acting and everything, but I think everyone did a fairly good job in the episode. But also for me, it's really hard to spot bad acting and everything, so maybe I could be completely be a bad judge of acting and everything. But in my opinion, people like I said, Huck, Elizabeth, Hope and everything, Felix, Will, Iris, and especially the new group and everything that we did get in this episode, I think they were all pretty good. Like I said, I'm not this acting teacher or anything, so I don't know perfect acting, but usually if someone's giving a pretty convincing performance enough to draw me into the scene, usually I could say they did a good job. Like I said, nothing groundbreaking or extremely emotional or extremely angering. I just thought all the performances are pretty standard and just good, I guess. Moving on to the editing, and this is the topic that I have the most to say about and everything, since I guess you could say I'm an editor and everything, so I guess I could give a bit more of an insight into what I thought about this episode's editing, which it wasn't all that good. I'll be perfectly honest, I didn't think it was all that great. So in this episode, let's touch on the main aspects of the episode, going in chronological order of why I didn't like all the editing. So in the opening of the episode, basically we had Will explaining to Felix and Iris about how he escaped from the CRM and how he poked his nose a little bit too much around and everything, and then basically was being taken to be executed and everything, and him and this other guy got away from the CRM and everything, but now the CRM want him dead. But during this segment of which they were showing Will getting in his friend getting away from the CRM and everything and all of that, and then bouncing back and forth between him telling Iris and Felix and everything, and then the scene actually happening of them escaping, they had this really weird fading back and forth that I really didn't like, and I thought was really poorly done, at least in my opinion. I really didn't like how that happened. I more so would have preferred in the opening minutes of the episode to have that be the strictly the opening minutes and everything of like, you know, Will and his friend escaping from like, you know, the CRM convoy and everything, and that whole situation happening. And then as soon as the opening minutes are done, everything, the opening credits are finished, then we go to like, you know, Iris, Felix, and Will and everything, and all of them kind of like, you know, reacting to what like, you know, Will told them. Because I really didn't like how the opening, like, you know, section was just like fading back and forth and back and forth. I just didn't think that was a really good idea. Also, during Hope's hallucinations, when like Elizabeth and Huck put her through like a test and everything, Hope kind of knocks her head and has some like, you know, hallucinations, which usually like, you know, hallucinations in shows, usually they're done fairly well, like fairly well. But in my God, in this episode, they were done so poorly. Like the editing for like the hallucinations was really bad, especially when she was like hallucinating, I think, Ellen's mom. Which I'm not sure how I feel about the performances from that woman and like, you know, Hope in that section when like, you know, she was hallucinating about like, you know, Ellen's mom or this like, you know, crazy woman. I thought the editing during that scene was very poor with how it was cut all together and everything and just all of that. But I guess moving on to the final section, which is best moments and everything, I really did enjoy kind of like the sections of like, you know, actually wait, fuck that. Let me go first to the opening of the episode. So there's a part of the episode in the opening when Elizabeth and like kind of like, you know, I guess side man was kind of like, you know, leading a gigantic walker horde and like, you know, setting up demolition C4s next to a community, and then they have this walker horde or empty horde, I think as the show calls them, coming over this hill and everything. They blew up the walls to this community, I think, and let this gigantic horde come in. I thought that scene, I guess you could call that some good cinematography and everything, showing like the scale of like, you know, the walker or empty horde and everything, and then like, you know, the demolition. I guess that's good special effects or CGI and everything. I did really like that part of the episode. I really did like a majority of like, you know, the Felix, like, you know, Iris and Will section of the episode. I know a lot of people did and everything, but I just, like I said, I see it as more of a shut my brain off and everything. I did like, I guess, a little bit of the moments between like, you know, Huck, Elizabeth, and, you know, kind of Elizabeth and Hope and everything, and all of them going through the test, even though, like I said, the test didn't really make sense since, like, you know, I think I saw the YouTuber Make a Path Presents and everything go over this. They wanted Hope so badly and everything that they were willing to fucking slaughter thousands of people and everything from different communities just to get to Hope and get her to, like, you know, the CRM, but then they put her through this horrifically dangerous test and everything to just, like, you know, show that Hope can't make it on her own and everything, so they send her out on her own and everything. But then eventually Hope comes around to, like, you know, joining the CRM, or joining them in big quotes and everything, since obviously she's not very, like, you know, dedicated. But I thought that was very dumb of the CRM to, like, you know, risk such a high asset and everything that they're willing to murder communities and everything for of 100,000 people to get, like, you know, Hope and everything, and then just to send her off on her own and risk all of that and everything. Like, I just watched episode 2 and everything, and just, like, you know, with how, like, I guess you'd say how much Leo, Hope, and Iris' dad doesn't trust the CRM. Imagine if Hope died and everything, he would have definitely not fucking trusted them after, like, you know, that situation or stunt they pulled. I guess you could say I like the new community and everything that was introduced and everything, how, like, it introduces an interesting conflict of how they know the CRM and, like, you know, how, like, that community has connections with the CRM, but then they have Will, Felix, and Iris staying there that are obviously hostiles, I guess you'd say hostiles to, like, you know, the CRM, and that creates some, you know, interesting conflict, and how, like, you know, Iris, Felix, and Will have to plan out their kind of plan or revolution against the CRM and everything to get Hope, Leo, and all of them out of the CRM, or at least, like, you know, take down the CRM to make, like, you know, the world a better place, I guess. I know it sounds cheesy, but, and I guess the ending of the episode with, like, you know, also there was some really nice moments between Will and Felix and everything that I really did like, some emotional moments between them and everything, and then kind of, like, you know, getting back together, I guess. The ending of the episode with, like, you know, Iris taking out a CRM soldier was, like, you know, it was alright and everything. I didn't hate it I didn't love it. I was kind of just like, okay, that happened. I guess, like, you know, I'll just see where it takes the show and everything. I guess in episode 2, which I'll also make sure to review, like, you know, later this week, it does take the show in some interesting, like, you know, directions for them, like, you know, to kill a CRM soldier, and then that will obviously lead back to the community, the new community that they're staying at. But I don't know. I guess it was cool and everything to see Iris get her first, like, you know, human kill. I guess it was pretty cool. But that was my review for The Walking Dead World Beyond Season 2, Episode 1 or anything. Like I said, this episode was pretty good in my opinion. It wasn't great because, like I said, a lot of the editing wasn't, like, you know, all that great, at least for the opening and then, like, you know, the hallucination sections. There were a lot of dumb decisions made in this episode, especially, like, you know, Huck and Elizabeth sending Hope and everything on a dangerous mission, even though she's a, like, you know, a valuable asset. Shit, I forgot to mention, a really good moment that I also did like in this episode was, Hope, like, you know, reuniting with her dad. I thought that was really, like, emotional and pretty cool and everything to see those characters finally, like, you know, reunite after all this time and after, like, you know, Hope and Iris and all their, like, you know, long journeys. I thought that was really cool, but all around, like I said, this episode was pretty good. I didn't hate it or anything. The editing wasn't great. There were some pretty good cinematography choices, and like I said, there were some pretty good moments that I liked and everything. The performances were, you know, pretty good. But like I said, there was a lot of moments that, like, I really actually did like, and I think throughout this episode, I can't wait to see how they play out in, like, you know, and how they affect the rest of the season. I can see why a lot of people aren't liking the season or the show and everything, because obviously, like, the main reason people want to see the show is to develop the CRM and find out what happened to Rick and everything, and really give us who the CRM truly are. But obviously, they can't do that without characters and everything, like Hope, Iris, and they have to give us characters. This is, I guess you could say, more of a defense of the show, but they have to give us some form of story to lead into, like, you know, how people are living the CRM and, like, you know, showing how bad the CRM can be. But I guess that was a little rant kind of defending the show and everything. But yeah, that was my review for The Walking Dead World Beyond Season 2, Episode 1 and everything. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more of the latest in the Walking Dead universe and more reviews, breakdowns, theories, and, like, you know, explain videos like this. And yeah, make sure to leave your comments down below. What you guys thought of the episode? Did you guys agree or disagree with most of the points I brought up? What did you guys think about the episode's cinematography, editing, acting, and what were your best moments or, like, you know, the worst moments of the episode? Make sure to comment that all down below and anything. Yep, I see you guys later, my amigos, and peace out.